Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Peter Rosenberg. I have the incredibly talented Chris Jericho sitting across from me. He has a brand new book out. It's called Undisputed, 1,372 Steps. Easy steps.
How to become the world champion in 1,372 easy steps. That's the secret. That's the tagline. That's the gag, as we say in show business.
So you actually kept track of all the matches you had.
Yeah, ever since I first started, I always was interested in how many matches has Hulk Hogan had, and you could never answer that. So for me, I said, well, when I start working, when I start wrestling, if I ever get a match, I'll make sure to write them down. So I still have the original yellowed white piece of kind of dog-eared paper with number 1, number 2, number 3. So that's how many matches that I had before I became the world champion, 1,372.
Did you write down for each one whether you went over or what have you?
Yeah, I would write down the number of the match, the date, who I worked against, what the finish was, where it was, and in my opinion, what was the rating. How many stars was it?
And how long did you keep that up through for these 13?
All the way up until September when I had my last match.
You're kidding?
No, I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah, I'm crazy.
Everything?
Every single one.
You know how many matches you went up and how many went down?
Like the first year or two, I was like, well, I've had 47 wins and 22 losses, so I'm really good.
Well, I'm going to tell you that.
I asked you also to write down how much money I made per match, but that kind of
that would be awesome. Yeah, I guess you can't.
It's too hard when you start getting paid weekly and that sort of thing. So,
I'll tell you an awesome compliment. I just heard about you. I thought it was so cool. It came out of nowhere. A couple months ago, I was hanging out with a mutual friend of ours, MVP.
Okay,
and we were talking about. I don't remember who it was with that you were working with towards the end before you took off recently. And he was just talking about numerous occasions where Chris Jericho was fighting to get other wrestlers to go over. In other words, for Chris Jericho to lose in order to push the star of someone else further. That there were a lot of times when they would think, no, Chris Jericho wouldn't lose, and you would say, it doesn't matter to my character. Why can't I lose?
I mean, when you get to a certain point, and I said this in another interview earlier today, it's all about confidence in your abilities as a performer. So when you have that confidence, and as long as you reach a certain prominence, I mean, you can't lose every night. You can't, but you can, especially as a heel, you can lose 7 times out of 10 and not have any issues with it at all. Especially for me, because I've kind of become bulletproof, where I know exactly what I need to do to get the heat back. Give me a microphone for 2 minutes and we're fine. Or not even, just the facial expressions or the way you leave the ring or what you do afterwards, just sitting in the ring. So, if I'm working with a newer guy like you, Evan Bourne, what's it going to mean for me to beat him? Nothing. Big deal. If he beats me and we do it right, then suddenly you have another guy on the radar that people take notice of. And for me, it doesn't make a difference. So, I think it's not a lot of guys can get away with it, but you can if you know how to do it right. And a good story about MVP is he's a great guy. I've known him for years. Had a lot of good times with him, but I'm still not completely sure what his real name is. Sometimes it's like Alvin Moore Jr.
I saw that recently. It was
Masan, whatever. I just call him M. Hey, M, what's going on, M? How you doing, M? And I even say, what is your name? And he's like, well, I was adopted by this guy, so I had this name, but then my father was really named this, and I had this name. I was like, I'm just going to call you M.
Yo, the reason this is so hilarious to me is because I've gotten pretty tight with him over the last year or so, and he's literally hung out in my home. And I know his name is not MVP.
What's his name? Right.
It's like he told me it once. It was like Hassan or something like that.
Yeah, Hassan, but he also like Alvin
But
Burke,
I saw he has a regular name
Junior,
too.
and it's like, and some guys like to be called by their gimmick names, Montel, Vesuvius, Port, whatever. So it's like, you know what? I'm just going to call you M, and you figure it out. When you know what your name is, let me know.
Tell me how Chris Jericho, bad recent Chris Jericho, how does he justify losing a match cleanly in the middle of the ring and showing up the next day and telling the world that he is still the best in the world at what he does?
Well, I mean, I think where I got that from is just an easy heat line. I mean, people automatically respond to that, like, boo, I'm the best, boo. It's similar to, like, being in Madison Square Garden and you go, the Rangers suck, boo.
But did you know, was it a planned one or just you did it?
It just came out.
Yeah.
Most of the so-called catchphrases that I have, we talked about earlier. I mean, I started calling people gelatinous parasites, and now at book signings, hey, can you write, I'm a gelatinous parasite? Or it's like, people actually want to be called this now. Mm-hmm. So you never know what's going to stick as a catchphrase and what's not. I mean, you can try, like, this is going to be my newest catchphrase, catchphrase and then totally bombs, or just come up with something like, never ever again, for example. That was never supposed to be that. I just felt like saying ever long. And I'm from Canada, so we say again, we don't say again. And suddenly everyone is saying it back. And I always had a theory: if you say something in the ring and somebody the next week has a sign in the crowd with that catchphrase or nickname on it, it's going to stick and run with it. So that's kind of what I based it on, what I was going to stick with. But like I said, I long ago stopped worrying about winning and losing, and just did not care, because it's like, if I'm in a movie that was Steven Spielberg's the director, and he goes, yes, okay, you're going to run across this beach in the war scene, and then you're going to get shot and you're going to get your leg blown off, and I say, well, I don't think that's right. My character wouldn't do that. Spielberg would say, okay, you're fired, and get somebody else. That's the way I look at it. I'm playing a part in a play, in a show. And I mean, sometimes I'll have different opinions. Well, maybe, I shouldn't get my leg blown off here, because it might work better if I got my arm blown off over here, or if I blew his arm off first and then he blows me to smithereens.
It might be cooler that way.
Exactly. So I'll always put my input and thought process into the storyline. But the wins and losses, like I said, as long as you win a few of them here and there to keep at that top elite level, like if you become the champion, if you're a heel champion, you can lose quite a bit. At least for my character, you can. Other like if you're a strongman type thing, maybe not. So it's show business for me. It always has been. It always will be. So I think about it as part of a story.
Well, for example, The Miz now has been champion for a few months. He has not won a match clean.
Yeah.
At all. I mean, how often do you think a heel champion should win a match clean? I think it doesn't happen enough. I think every blue moon.
I agree. No, I agree with that. But also, too, you have to it depends what kind of prominence you have and what level you're at in your career. The Miz now, not experience-wise, but when I first won the title, the Undisputed Championship in 2003, Vince booked me the same way. Always losing, always, barely squeaking out roll-ups and stuff like that. You got to be careful, because it doesn't really work, because people need to believe that you're a badass. Even if, they got to believe that you can win. And it's working for Miz, but, the next time he needs to be more of an ass kicker. And I think that's the difference when I was the champion in 2008, 2009 in comparison to being the champion in 2003. The 2009 guy did win with, code breakers or walls of Jericho, whatever, if you do it the right way. So, You have to have some level of respect and some belief in by the fans into you, if you want to be booked that way, of kind of being the coward that just barely squeaks out.